The Origin of Life 6. Siafeng. August 16, 2005. 1.it teaches us that if we want to sublimate the meaning of life, then we must cast off all our worldly ties. The Birth of Monkey King from Rocks tells us that it is only by disassociating from our families and affections in our conscious thinking and psychological activity and by ridding of all our constraints that we can gain the chance to advance to the supreme life space. If we merely consider being patriotic, upholding the honor of our ancestors, and other worldly affairs, then we will stay at the same mortal level forever. 2. It informs us that once we determine to pursue Tao, we must overcome all hardships and be very persistent, just as Sakyamuni sitting under the Bodhi tree would not rise until he was enlightened. This is the only way. 3. It enlightens us learn that no trees can bear ginseng fruit on the earth. Well then, where is the Wuzhuang temple? It is definitely not in the mortal world. In this sense, we must expand our view of thinking into the vast universe, surpass the limitations of space and time, and enter into another space to discover the mysteries of life in the distant heaven. Wukong's master wanted him to learn the knowledge of art, circulation, and movement. Wukong asked, "Will this knowledge make me immortal?" Master replied, "No," and Wukong said over and over again, "Then, I don't want to learn these 3 skills." This tells us that profound knowledge does not exist in these 3 types of knowledge, which are actually different levels of supernatural powers. If we restrict our thinking and consciousness to the level of art, we will never arrive at the other side of life. Wukong's refinement at Crescent Moon and 3 Stars Cave was actually that he had uplifted himself with the knowledge of the soul, including thinking, consciousness, spirit, and psychological activities. When we grasp the secrets of soul and life, then 72 different forms or even 1,000 kind of transformations are not difficult. It is not fanciful to mount the clouds and ride the mist, or rise to heaven and fall to earth. Speaking of mounting the clouds and riding the mist, people often regard this as a thinking fantasy and talking idiotic nonsense, but in fact when we let go of our consciousness and expand our thinking, then we will find that it is a very common life phenomenon in another space and time. Consider astronauts in spacecraft and consider the footprints left by those who flew to the moon, then suppose that the moon is smaller than its actual size, half its size, 1/3 its size, down to a sphere as small as a football field. In these cases, could people have flown there? Or suppose the size of the Earth remains, but its weight is reduced to 5 metric tons, could you then mount the clouds and ride the mist? Then, suppose that your weight is not 70 kilograms, but 20, 10, or 1 kilogram, or 1 gram, or even as light as a feather, could you then mount the clouds and ride the mist? You should know that the spiritual entity, soul, which constructs life is weightless. Without a spiritual entity, soul, there is no life, but without material form, there is no life either. Life requires both.